of the DCL fan club, which is probably going a bit well this season, isn't it? Matt Jones, Matt,
we've got a lot of new members this week, mate. Yeah, as you can imagine.
I would have thought the admin must be terrible this week. And also, I'm pleased to say we're joined by England legend, Sky Sports commentator and all-round top Toffee, Sue Smith. Sue, great to have you on those things.
Oh, thanks for having me on. Yeah, really, really good. Thanks. I'm smiling like most Evertonians at the moment.
It's nice when people sort of say nice things about us, isn't it? And we're not sort of hiding away.
So nice. Yeah, it's one of those, isn't it? I think in past seasons where they say, do you want to talk about Everton? Do you want to talk about your team? And like you say, you just hide away from it. But at the moment, it's like, yeah, ask me as much as you want because, yeah, it's we're certainly flying high, aren't we?
So do you get to give Stephen Warnock a few jabs back of the morning now as well?
Do you know, that is the nicest thing. On a Monday morning, every Monday, he'd be there, all smiles. Liverpool have just won again. And I'd be like this. So now it's like, but to be honest, he's been really complimentary towards Everton. He's done quite a few. He's highlighted James Rodriguez a couple of times, and he did a little thing on Alan. So he's enjoying watching the Blues. Well, he's pretending to enjoy watching the Blues at the moment.
Before we get into the fellas game against Brighton, we'll take a quick look at Everton win because they are doing the business as well. They've got off to a 100% start. Fellas have. And last week they beat Chelsea in the quarterfinals, then beat Birmingham in the semi-finals to set up an FA Cup final against Man City, where they'll meet one of the best teams in the division and former player Chloe Kelly. So have you been surprised how they started?
Do you know, I've got to say I have pleasantly surprised because you just mentioned Chloe Kelly. I think losing her, I thought that was going to be a huge loss for them. She was their star player last season, goals, assists, everything. And I think sometimes when you lose your star player, though, teams just tend to, I don't know, work together a little bit more. I think the signings that Willie Kirk's brought in have been brilliant and they fit in really well. But the result against Chelsea, I thought was fantastic. The fact that they went a goal down and they battled back from that goal, and Chelsea were probably favourites for that competition. You look at, you know, the strength and depth that they have, the international players that they have. The way that the girls came back from that, I thought was brilliant. And then I watched them against Birmingham, and they were by far the better team. But they had to be patient, and you've seen a different side to the game there. So yeah, I've been so impressed. So pleased for Izzy Christiansen, you know, a girl that I know quite well. She's at Man City, did well at Man City, obviously playing regularly for England. Went to Lyon, didn't quite work out, few injuries and stuff, and now she's back fit. She looks like she's enjoying a football again. So yeah, I'm really, really pleased for her.
I think as well, Sue, I was going to mention Izzy Christensen to you because I think her story is really fascinating, and obviously back at the club, and it's the pass she played for that first goal on Wednesday night was fantastic, wasn't it? You know, no luck, and I think while it seems to me, when I watch the girls, that Willie Kirk's always had them really organised and they've got loads of energy and, you know, endeavour. Maybe last season they were a bit too dependent on Chloe and maybe lacking that little bit of guile in the final third as well. And Izzy sort of come in and just knitted that entire facet of the team together. Yeah,
you're absolutely spot on. And I'm a massive fan of Willie Kirk. I think tactically, I think he's very good. His coaching sessions are brilliant. When you speak to any of the girls, they love going to training. And you can see that he's got this, like, it's like a real team spirit and team togetherness, hasn't he? But you're right. I think last season, there were times where they got into the final third and maybe just lacked that little bit of quality, I suppose, or that little bit of maybe confidence. I don't know. But I think Izzy's come in and she is a player that is confident. She's a player that we know can feed those no-look passes or those quality passes through. And yeah, it was just great to see her smiling again, because I think she's had a tough time. So to come back, to be playing well, to enjoying the football and to be winning, yeah, it's great for her and for the girls.
Of course, they're second in the league now, just behind Arsenal. It's like the old days, isn't it? Everton second. You've got third to bottom Villa away, but it's already a little bit of a must-win because I think Chelsea have got Bristol City. No, Arsenal and Bristol City, sorry. Yeah, they have. Chelsea have got Birmingham, so it's like top 3 v bottom 3. Do you reckon, are you confident they'll keep up this early pace? I mean, they don't have a slip, but...
No, they don't. I hope so. And I think that the big thing is that the confidence at the moment and the fact that they are going into games believing that they're going to win. Because I think I think Willie Kirk actually said, didn't he, before one of his interviews, that he was saying, we've got a good team. I know they're good, but it's about them believing in themselves. And I think that's what he's trying to instill into them. But going beating Chelsea, they clearly were underdogs there. I think that will give them that little bit of belief. And they probably go into the Villa game as favourites. So will that change things slightly? I don't think so, because they went in against Birmingham favourites and managed to beat them. So, yeah, I think there's no reason why they can't keep up the pace. You think of the big three in the women's game, you know, Arsenal, Chelsea, Man City, Man United are there or thereabouts with some of their signings. But Everton are certainly keeping up with them. And, you know, it's just great to see. It's like everything is just so positive for Everton fans at the moment. And, yeah, long may that continue.
Yeah, I think what's been great about it, I've watched, you know, a fair bit of both the games they played in the week, the Chelsea one and the one against Birmingham midweek. They've won those games in such different ways, haven't they? You know, like you said, Sue, on Wednesday, they were just knocking the ball around constantly. In some respects, it didn't really feel like an FA Cup final because they were just so one-sided, and that's credit to the girls and how well they did. And then you look at the Chelsea game, and it was sort of a bit of a flip reverse where they had to dig in early on because Chelsea were well on top, and then they got a foothold in the game. They managed to battle, managed to fight, managed to show the quality as well, and then they clung on when they did get ahead. And I suppose that's going to give them great confidence going forward, isn't it? Being able to say, well, we know how to win football matches this way, and we can also do it this way as well. And if you go into a game knowing you can win matches in different ways, then you must be feeling pretty good about yourself.
Yeah, oh, definitely. And it is. And it was the character that they shown against Chelsea, that they did go a goal down. They had to battle back. They had to defend because, like we know, Chelsea have got so many quality players going forward. So they were able to do that. And then to get the win, you could see how much it meant to them at the end. And like you say, then at midweek, and it was such a quick turnaround as well. So to stay as fresh as what they did and to look as fit as what they did, and they were keeping the ball really nicely, and it was a case of being patient. They had to try and break them down. Once they broke them down, you just thought they were going to continue and keep scoring. And it was good to see Govan as well on the score sheet, because what a signing that was. That come from nowhere. You know, I've watched her internationally and I know what a great player she is. I know she's not played that much for Everton at the moment, but when she's fully fit, when she's match fit, she's a game changer.
Yeah, it's nice to have that winning feeling right across the club, isn't it? we're not used to it, so we've all got to enjoy it while we can. Move on to the fellas now. Brighton at home, a game we won 1-0 last season. Richarlison with a wonder goal, probably most notable though for that penalty that got turned down. This season, midfields look good, but we learned today Andre Gomez is out, which is probably a bit of a shock to everyone, and Alan are going to both be missing. Sue, what do you reckon about the midfield? Do you think Delphin Sigurdsson can pick up where they left off, or do you think it'll leave us short?
I'm absolutely gutted that those two aren't in, because they've been brilliant. Like, I know we've all been speaking about James Rodriguez and obviously in the attacking third, and what a great signing he's been, and just that quality that he has. But I've loved Alan. You know, he's been a top signing, something that we've needed, I think, for a long time. That protection in front of the defence, the quality that he's also got on the ball, the energy that he has, and so I think he's going to be a massive miss. I love Gomez. I was so gutted when he got injured. Just again, the quality that he has, and you think playing alongside someone like Alan, he'll just keep getting better and better. So yeah, I think it'll probably be those two, and hopefully, yeah, they'll just fit straight in. But it is disappointing, isn't it, that we're just sort of, this starting 11 looks good. They look fluid. They just have a good balance about them. So to have those two out is disappointing. But then you don't want to, even if it is just a niggle, you want to keep them for the majority of the season. So, okay, miss this. You've then got the international break. So hopefully then be fit for the rest of the season. Don't push them and make it long term.
Yeah, I think it's just something we're going to have to deal with, isn't it, over the course of the season? It feels like it's just, as much as we've sort of said on our shows recently, Sue, that, you know, if we keep this 11 fit, we could do a lot of really exciting things this season.
Yeah.
To be honest, given the nature of football, given the relentless nature of the calendar, you're going to pick up injuries, you're going to pick up suspensions, and there's going to have to be different people coming into the side. And I suppose this is where we are now on the eve of a game, and three lads, you know, presuming Richarlison's not, you know, he's 50-50, isn't he? I think it's probably fair to say for this game. Yeah. So say he doesn't make it, you've got 3 lads who are going to have to come into that setup that's worked so well. If Carlo Ancelotti hadn't made changes in the Carabao Cup, there would have been players like Delph and Sigurdsson and Iwobi or Bernard or Gordon coming into this game cold. But because they've played in these games and because they've contributed in these games, it feels like they'll be able to come in and not only be match fit, but be confident as well. And I suppose that's where the risk reward pays off, doesn't it, of making those changes in the Carabao Cup early on.
Yeah, do you know what? That's a really good point, and I think it is. It's when you've had that game time, you've had that. Again, it's a confidence thing, isn't it? As a player, when you're sat on the bench and you're watching, your team performing well, and you're not a part of it. Sometimes quite difficult, isn't it, psychologically? But the fact that he has rotated and he has given them game time, then hopefully they'll just come in and just fit in as sort of fluid as you want them to do and perform at the levels that you want them to perform at. And I think there's just going to be a buzz around the football club at the moment. I think, the players will enjoy going to training. They'll want to go to training. I think when you're in that winning run, if you like, you can't wait for the next training session. You can't wait for the next game. And I think that's where they are. And, they'll feel it's a chance for them to stake a claim, so they've done okay in the cup. So they come in, they then perform. This is my chance now. And you hope that that's what they're wanting to do. And hopefully they can do it.
Is that hard? I mean, I don't know if you've ever been in this position, Sue, because you were such a fantastic player. But is that hard when there's such a settled first 11, and you sort of realise straight away who the 11 are going to? If everyone's fit, you know what the manager's going to say. You know who the manager's going to pick, and you're sort of the 13th or 14th player, and you're a bit further down the pecking order, and barring injuries and suspensions, you're not going to get a game. I mean, is that difficult when you just sort of sat on and you've got to go to training and you're on the sidelines?
That's hard. That's really hard. And, I went through it at England a couple of seasons where I'd been out injured. I came back in and I knew what the starting 11 was, and I'd turn up and I'd train really hard that week. But I knew when it came to game time, I wasn't going to play. So no matter how well you did in training, you could be the best trainer, but you knew that wasn't going to change unless somebody got injured. And it's just a case of when you do get your chance, you've just got to try and take it. And you don't want to get, you don't want any of your players to get injured so that in your position, you don't give a little kick as you walk past, but you still sort of like, you just hope you get your opportunity at some point. And when you do get it, you've just got to try and take it. So it's obviously nice to be part of that squad, but you want to be in the starting 11.
Yeah, I think a bit more good news today was that Anthony Gordon wasn't listed in the casualties, so hopefully he'll be back. But we could be a little bit light up front. Moise Keane's been left out again. Sure what's going on there, but it doesn't look good. Richarlison is 50-50, so that could leave us quite short up front with just Calvert-Lewin. Could we maybe throw Ellis Sims in? I know he's only just joined the under-23s, but he's doing well. He's scoring goals still. Do you reckon he'd be an option on the bench? And as a young player yourself, did you benefit from sort of going into the squad as a young player, not necessarily in the team? Does that really do the young players good? Or?
Yeah, I think so. I think they'll be in and around. They'll be training. They'll be sort of learning off those more experienced players. And yet, of course, I think as a young player, you want to play. You believe in yourself because you're young. You have no fear. So why not, throw him on the bench if that is, I'm not saying throw him on, but I think, give him that experience of match day and being part of the team. And, what does Carlo say at half time? And, those sort of things. And it makes you then as a young player work even harder because you think that's where I want to be. That's where I want to get to. So yeah, as a young player, I played in a women's side when I was 16. And, I remember just being in and around, just being in awe of everybody, sort of thinking, oh, wow, I want to be here. I want to do this. And I think, so it's great to have those sort of experiences.
Yeah, I think so often, Les, we've sort of said that we bring young players into the team when things aren't going well. Like we sort of, in the past, we've been like, oh, get a lad from the reserves in because the team's not doing well. And, the senior players aren't cutting it. And it's quite nice to be able to look at it and say, well, we're doing really well now. So maybe this is a good chance to bring a young player in for a change and not just sort of like, what Dom's had to go through down the years where effectively he's been flogged up front and he's been used as this player to try and, perk people up. Or we've been saying the same about Kieran Dowell or even Anthony Gordon recently, well, these youngsters can't do any worse than the lads playing at the moment. Let's see what they've got. It sort of could be nice for Ellis Sims to come into a positive environment to think on the bench and sort of try and make an impression that way, as opposed to being used as a bit of a catalyst to give a kick up the arse of some of the senior lads.
Yeah, it's not the desperate shout of the Walter Smith era, is it? When we're like, oh, these are last the kids on.
Yeah.
Well, get a Dantel on. He was always the shout, wasn't he? Just want to quickly look at the officials for this one. Every week I like to look at the referees to see where that's going to lead us. So this week it's Simon Hooper. Doesn't really bode well. He's only taken charge of 2 games, 2 very memorable games for the wrong reasons. The home defeat to Sheffield United when he beat us 2-0, but only had 1 shot on target. And the game he refereed with the 2-2 draw at home to Newcastle.
Oh dear.
But it gets worse because John Moss is on the VAR.
Oh no.
So obviously, last time was the Man United game.
Sue's not allowed to slag any of these off because she's a mate with McGallagher.
I know, but what I will say, what I'd like to just quickly pick up on is because VAR played such a massive part of last week's win, and there was a massive kick-off about that handball. What did you make of all that? Because it was sort of split down the middle, and we were looking like the commentary on Amazon Prime. You could see Tilsley and McCoy were kind of setting up that narrative for the post-weekend discussion. What did you make of it?
Do you know, I just don't like that at all. I just feel it, obviously, as an Everton fan, and you get that decision, of course you're slightly pleased, aren't you? But if that had gone against us, I would have been absolutely fuming. You know, I think some of the handball decisions have just been ridiculous. I think that the big one was the Dyer one, you know, where he was actually, I think Carroll headed the ball. He was like 2 yards away from him. He turned his back, it hit his arm, and you just think that can't be given. So I know they're going a little bit more lenient, aren't they? I think that was something that came out today, which I just think it's just common sense. I think anybody that's watched the game, that's played the game, knows that when you're defending, your arms are going to be in a certain position, you know, and this whole, if your arm's away from your body, it's just ridiculous. It's got to, so I think the refs now, it's a bit more subjective. I think the refs can make a decision. I know Jose Mourinho came out today saying he doesn't like anything like that. He doesn't like any subjectivity, but I just think you have to sometimes it has got to be common sense. But yeah, I can't say I was that bothered about the one last week for us.
The strange thing about the rule change that I was reading in the week, that basically Everton's wouldn't have counted, but the Eric Dyer one still would have been given.
Oh, right.
His arm was above his shoulder. So I think they're keeping that one. And my worry is with the sort of giving the referees a bit more room to put common sense into the decision, which is fine because that's the job.
Yeah.
Hope they don't start getting overruled by a VAR like they did last season. You know, if you're going to give them that, you've got to let them run the game. So we'll see. We're getting a dodgy penalty against us tomorrow, aren't we?
No,
but we'll win 5-1, so it'll be fine.
Well, it's fine, which, funny enough, leads me nicely onto the stats. This is my favourite part. I love the stats. So we go into the back of this one on the back of 3 straight league wins, 93-94. That's why I put this on. It's no accident. Do you know the last time we won 4 on the bounce in the league?
Was it 13-14 Martinez?
No.
Ooh.
I thought we won like 6 in a row that season, didn't we?
I don't think it was, anyway, unless I've got my stats all wrong here. I probably have. I've got one job to do the stats. Anyway, the season I've got 77-78. We won our first 4.
Oh, it was just the start of the season?
The start of the season.
Oh, okay, right, yeah.
That was like mid-season,
So the first 4 games was 77-78. And on our game, we led at Wimbledon 8-0. Bob Latchford got 5.
There we go.
I love that.
that definitely bodes well for tomorrow, surely.
Yeah. Dom's going to get 6, yeah.
Well, yeah, what he's got to do is he's got to leave his hair out like the Bob Latchford perm, hasn't he?
Yeah. Maybe that's what he is. Maybe that's it. Maybe that's what's happening. He's just turning it to Bob Latchford.
I'm all for that. That's sound. Yeah. Ancelotti's 100th Premier League game as well. He's won 59, a record that's only been beaten by 5 other managers. Don't know who they are. Haven't looked. Don't care because he's on. Matt, I'll come to you first. What's been your favourite Ancelotti game at Everton?
Ooh, probably. If I'm being sensible, I'd probably say Spurs away. But just for the pure elation of a moment and madness, it's probably the Watford 3-2. where Walcott scored. I love goals like that, where it's the last minute and it's level, and you just got 4 or 5 players just legging it down the pitch on the counter attack, and you're thinking, we're going to score a last minute goal here. Came back, had 10 men in front of the away fans. First time we come back to win for something like 2 years as well, I think, wasn't it?
Yeah, so it was, yeah.
I'd probably go for that one.
I like that. I've got to say, opening game of the season against Spurs, and I just think it's because every season I'm always so optimistic. I'm always so positive. I always think this is going to be our season, and then I just get let down. You know, I watch the first game and I think, oh, come on. Whereas I sat there watching, I actually watched it with my mum, and like my mum doesn't know anything like tactically or anything like that, and just says things that I think, oh yeah. And she just said, I feel so calm watching this. She said, I feel like normally my mum's shouting at the telly and screaming at the telly, but she was just really calm. And it was like, I just felt like we were really in control. And obviously it was a chance to see the new signings and see how they performed. And yeah, it just really gave me a sense of this is going to be a good season. So yeah, I've got to say that one, I think.
Yeah, I think that's mine as well. I think it purely because it was very un-Everton-like from what we used to. The control we had over that game for the entire game, it just wasn't like anything we'd seen. And it was kind of that moment where you thought, hey, this might actually work, you know. This so yeah, I think that's mine. The last 5 meetings between these two teams have been won by the home side. The only anomaly there with the 6th was the awful 1-1 draw down at Brighton when Rooney scored. You were there, weren't you, Matt?
Oh yeah, it was. That was a horrendous day, that one.
Yeah,
really bad.
And just to look at Brighton, they sort of had a bit of a mixed season. Like they led at Man United last week, but just didn't win. They've actually been unbeaten in the last 8 away and won 3 of the last 4 away. Stu, what have you made of Brighton this season? Have you covered them at all? Or?
Yeah, I actually did the Man United game.
Okay.
Yeah, it was just an absolute crazy game. One of my friends who's a Man United fan texted me at the end and said, you couldn't have looked more disappointed when we scored that winning penalty. And it wasn't anything to do with Man United. It was just, you know, being a neutral watching the game. Brighton just deserved something out of it. And I felt so sorry for them. But I just think Potter's doing a great job. I think he's got them playing some lovely football. They like to play through the thirds. I think Ben White coming back, I think, really helped them defensively play the ball out from the back. I think Lallana's a good signing for them, fits into the way that they want to play. And my only question was, will they score enough goals? And again, I don't know if that's going to be the case. I don't know if they've got Will Mopey and Connolly, will they be a 20-plus striker a season? I don't know. But I like how he sets them up. I like how they play. And I think it'll be a tough game. They're a really good football inside. But yeah, I was so gutted for them against Manchester United. You know, when you hit the woodwork about 50 times and you don't get anything out of it, I just thought it's not going to be their day.
Yeah, I think that Trossard hit the post in the game before that as well against Newcastle. So he's hit the post 4 times in 2 games.
He's just finding his range.
Yeah. Do you know what? In all seriousness, we're joking about us smashing them. I agree with Sue. I think it's going to be a tricky game. They will definitely create chances, and I think it's just, again, like what Sue said, I think it's whether you've got the lads at the top end of the pitch who are going to create them, so you're going to convert them.
Yeah,
you say the same about us, and you know we're going to create chances in the game, but at the moment we've got a lad who is definitely going to convert them. So for me, we'll do predictions in a bit, Les, but I think that's ultimately what will be the difference tomorrow.
Yeah, I think so. I think I saw bits of the game against Newcastle as well, where they were very good.
Yeah.
So, as I say, looking at their away form, you can turn it on away, and you just sort of think West Brom gave us a bit of a headache before it went down to 10 men, and we sort of just took the game to them and settled ourselves down. So it sort of has got the potential to be a bit of a tricky one, this, which does lead me nicely onto the predictions. It writes itself sometimes, this. Basically, I asked everyone in our in the Blue Room WhatsApp group for some predictions. Laura said 2-0 to the tricky Toffees. Cy Magnus said 3-0 to Dominic Hat-Vin-Lewin.
Is that a play on hat-trick? It's not a very good one, is it?
I think so. It's classic Magnet, isn't it?
Yeah.
Kate said 2-1 Blue Heart, we got this. Mark Mosey said 2-1 to the Window Wreckers.
Transfer window records, does he mean?
Window, it's got to be. Adam Sutton 5-2. Ryan Reynolds 4-2. Keane with 3. Mick Keane with 3. And let's move on. Jack Carlisle 4-1. Dave Downey 4-1 to Godfrey's Gunslingers. we'll quickly talk about him now. Not and Mike Diasha said 3-1 to the Toffees. Just quickly on what should be Everton's next signing. So have you seen much of him?
Do you know, we were actually talking about it, Matt, weren't we? Because I had to do a little bit on Sky yesterday, just before the game, and sort of say, so I watched when they played in the Championship, and I thought he was brilliant. I thought he was a top quality defender, young defender, helped them obviously get promoted. And then I just thought Norwich defensively in the Premier League were poor, weren't they? But I never really looked at him and thought he was, stand out as being poor, or I just think it was collectively as a team. I think he could do well. It's obviously he's got to fight his way into that position, hasn't he? But at the moment, you think with the injuries that we've got with Holgate and Branthwaite, you just think, yes, Lucas Dean can play in there, but do you want him in there? Yeah. I don't know. So he's got to fight Mina and Keane for that position. But he's young. He's good on the ball, got a good character, which I think is so important. You want a character that's going to come in and work hard. And he seems like a confident lad. So I think he's somebody that will come in and want to prove himself in the Premier League. He probably feels like he didn't really do that for Norwich, whereas he's playing in a side that hopefully at the top end of the table, it'll be better for him as a defender and maybe show more of his attributes. So I think it'd be a good sign. And I was just surprised that it was initially turned down. Obviously gone back, and so Norwich, I suppose, they don't have to sell, do they? I thought they probably would have, but they clearly don't need to.
Yeah, it's interesting. I don't really know too much about him, but spoke to Michael Bailey from The Athletic, who's the Norwich reporter, about him. So that's over on our feeds if people want to listen to that. And the overwhelming thing I got from speaking to him was that he just seems like the right sort of character and the right sort of lad you want around the place. He's captain Norwich already. He's been England under 21 captain as well. He seems like he's versatile. I reckon we might see him coming on in games later on and playing as the deepest midfielder for a bit, just to try and shore games out. Certainly early on. I think he'll probably become a centre-half eventually, but I reckon he might just be that player if Gomez is looking a bit knackered or Alan's maybe feeling the pace a little bit, that you just say, go and sit in front of the back four for 5 minutes, Ben, and head everything and kick everything away. And you might see a bit of that from him. But he's, of the right profile, of the right age, and I think the money Everton are paying for him is not too excessive, given all the positive things we're hearing about him, really, Les. Yeah,
he also said See No Evil, Hear No Evil is his favourite film, so that gives him massive as well, doesn't it?
Gives him an edge over the other side.
Pretty much, yeah. Give him the captain's armband for that. What do you reckon then, Matt? Oh, my voice went there. What do you reckon this weekend, score?
I can see it being similar to the other ones we've had, and we go ahead, get pegged back, and then turn it on a little bit late in the game. So I reckon 1-1 half time, but 3-1 to the Toffees eventually.
Yeah, it's a good shout that we seem to have in these games when we have been pegged back, we've just stepped it up again, which is something this is something we've seen other teams do to us, isn't it? Over the years.
Yeah.
Nice to see us do it to them. Sue, what do you reckon tomorrow?
I'm going to go 2-1. I think it's going to be quite a close game, and I think if Gomez and Allen were fit, if we knew that Richarlison was going to be 100% fit, I probably would have gone 3, but I'm going for 2-1, but still a good win.
Yeah, I think 2-1 myself as well. I'm sort of a bit concerned about Hammers as well. I haven't played midweek. Will he be, up speed for this one? So yeah, I think I'll go 2-1. We'll edge the win. They'll make
I don't even think he needs to be up to speed, Les, does he? He just walks around. It's fine.
He's got his own speed, hasn't he?
I love that stat that they showed. Was it on Match of the Day where he got man of the match, didn't he? But there was no sprints. I thought that was absolutely brilliant. It just shows, doesn't it, just the quality that he has.
Yeah.
Around, brilliant.
I can't even imagine being that good where you don't have to run.
Yeah.
You ever play with anyone like that, Sue, or were you that player?
Oh no, I wish I was that player. No, I had to work hard. I was the one that was training really hard. Do you know Kelly Smith a little bit like that? Yeah. Probably like the best English player that I've played alongside, and she was very much like give her the ball and she'll just make something happen. So yeah, she didn't have to do it. Was just leave her, let her have a little free roll. We'll do all the working around her and just let her just do her thing. So yeah, he's just so good to watch, isn't he? Pleasure to watch.
Over the park. That's all for this week. So, who have you got over the weekend?
So I've got the early game. So I've got the Chelsea Palace game on Soccer Saturday. So yeah, should be hopefully a good one. Hopefully some goals.
Yeah, and then good actually that. Yeah, both got a fancy Palace to get something there.
I know definitely. I think with you just look at Chelsea's defence at the moment, it's poor, isn't it?
I love that Les is eyeing up Chelsea. He's like, I hope they drop points, like they're all title rivals or something.
Got to wave high. Got to wave high.
Why not? Why not? Yeah.
Matt, what else have we got coming up over the weekend?
We've got Blue Room 101, which you're on tomorrow with Dave. I'm just advertising all your shows here, mate. We've got Blue Room 101 tomorrow, which you're on with Dave, and your mailbag tomorrow as well. So got all that covered up on Blue Room Extra, yeah.
Yeah, busy day for me tomorrow, though. Sue, thanks so much for coming on.
Oh, thanks for having me. It's been great.
Brilliant to chat to you, Matt.
Pleasure as always,
thanks
mate.
As ever.